The Channel Pro Network presents IT Nightmares with Justin Esgar and guest Jared Knisley. Episode 6, The Price of No.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of IT Nightmares, a video series I'm hosting in partnership with Channel Pro Network. My name is Justin Esgar. My guest with me today is Jared Knisley, Managing Director at XDuce. He's been in IT forever. He comes wearing a suit. He must know a lot more than we do. I'm going to shut up now. Jared, hey.
Hey, Justin.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us.
So tell everybody, what was your IT nightmare?
We all have them, for being candid and transparent. We all learn and grow over years of doing this. Our IT nightmare came a number of years ago. It was with a client. They weren't a break fix client. We were trying to avoid break fix work at that time. But they were a decent sized business that had some in-house IT, and they were looking to outsource a portion of their work to us, which we were happy to help them with. Pretty cost conscious organization. It was really hard, really challenging for us to get different projects approved, and uh, there were a number of recommendations, Justin, that we were making to them. We were saying, hey, you really need to get rid of these first generation firewalls. They said, no, thanks. They seem to be working. We would say things like, hey, we need to get you on, you should really be using a spam filter. They would say, well, we'll think about that. They had outdated operating systems on the network. We would say, hey, that Windows XP machine, you really need to get rid of it. They said, we'll think about it. There were many examples of trying to get them to move onto newer equipment, newer systems. We were able to get them off an on-prem Microsoft kind of on-prem Exchange server they had, but that required kind of threatening to fire them. I mean, it was just really hard with this. For us, it was a small account to get them to make the right decisions and move. I guess you could say there wasn't enough trust there, I suppose, as for us in that account as kind of an outsourced CIO service. So, long story short, this went on for probably 2.5 years of us making recommendations and the client just not wanting to spend money. But we were young at the time and we really needed the income. We wanted every account. And no surprise, they got hit with a ransomware attack. And when the ransomware attack happened, it was obviously for them completely overwhelming. I mean, they had a nice business, decent sized team, servers and databases. I think they had probably 20 different databases. And for us, they'd always been like a small account. It was Justin, people price things out a little differently, but we've used a term in our business called a bronze level of service, where you're just paying us for tools and maybe a few support hours. And so for us, they were a bronze client, but somewhere along the way, they thought we should have been doing a lot more for them than we thought we should be doing for them based on how the deal had been priced out and supported. So obviously, I ended up camping, so to speak. I spent all day into the evenings kind of on site with the client for the better part of 2 weeks. We did get the clients up and running again after about 6 days. They were open for business. The attack happened on a Monday. They were up and running again by Saturday. But obviously, we lost the client, and there were, I don't want to say threats, but there were references made by them as to, what our liability might be from the whole event. And it was stressful. And I think we learned a lot of lessons from that experience. So that was an IT nightmare for us.
Yeah, no, that sounds it. Clients who get ransomware always are like, so they're always shocked when it happens.
Oh,
When
they were completely shocked. How could
Yeah.
this happen?
how did
Yeah.
this happen to us? You've been protecting us. And you're like, you haven't been paying us. That's why you haven't been protected.
Yeah.
I do joke around a little bit that our job is a little bit, you know, Al Capone-ish in the regards of like, you pay me, I'll protect you. Like, uh,
Uh, It can feel like that at times. And this client, it's interesting. They had made a comment to me just a few months before this attack occurred. I was on with their senior executive, and he said, "Jared, every time we talk with your team, they're always trying to upsell us, and because we genuinely had been making recommendations, and I mean, they had virtual machines that were fully exposed to the internet, things susceptible to just brute force RDP attacks, and we were like, hey, you should at least, get a 2FA multi-factor authentication going on these endpoints, but like, oh, that'll be too disrupting for the users. So, looking back, I mean, uh, I would have just done things differently, right? I would have been more direct. I would have, we did threaten to walk away from their account if they wouldn't at least move their on-prem Exchange servers to the cloud. I'm glad we did that. Otherwise, they could have lost all their email. But I would have just been more forceful or been willing to walk from the account if they didn't make changes. And what's interesting, Justin, is the company that came in after us, they were convinced at that point that they needed to make these investments and make these changes. And the company that came in after us ended up charging double what we had been charging to provide a similar level of service. But we were their learning experience, I guess you could say.
yeah, and I think that is the nice takeaway for everyone else who's listening is that like it's okay to walk away from a customer before the problem happens because it's
Absolutely.
so often we hear MSPs get let go from a customer after a ransomware attack after that MSP has told them, listen, if you don't do these things you're going to get attacked and this will happen. They don't hear that, right? People always want to learn from their own mistakes, and when a client doesn't do what we as the experts are trying to tell them to do, and they think it's just us selling on them on things, I think that lack of trust, like you had mentioned, from their side to you wasn't there. And if your clients don't trust you, the lesson here for everyone is to like walk away from it. I mean, I don't know why we as MSPs feel like it's okay to hang out with a customer who doesn't trust us when like I wouldn't hang out with people who don't trust me. Like I don't have friends or like my spouse or whatever it is, if they didn't trust me, I would walk away from those situations. Why is it okay for us to do that in business? And I think that's a good takeaway for a lot of people is walk away before trouble actually can happen.
Yeah, or like if I could go back in time and tell the younger version of Jared Knisley, give him some advice, I would say, sit down with this customer and ask them, just be direct, say, why are you hesitant? Or you could just ask, is this a trust issue? Or, how could we, um, how could we make you feel like we're not trying to sell you on these solutions? Just be
Yeah.
more upfront and be really candid and direct. What's interesting, Justin, this is how bad this client's environment was. I'm almost
Mm.
embarrassed to admit this, but the environment was so bad that I thankfully had taken out a commercial insurance policy on their account. You're not really able to do this anymore because there's been so many ransomware attacks the last 7, 8 years that companies offering ransomware protection kind of went out of business. But it was so bad that we actually took out a commercial like an insurance policy just knowing that something could or was likely to happen. If well, at least if something bad happens, I'll be able to say, hey, we have this policy on your account. So thankfully I was able to do that, which they did appreciate. But the whole event still, these weren't technical people. They did have some on-site IT, but they didn't own the situation, right? People got very defensive.
Yeah.
Um, so thankfully we weren't harmed from the whole event. We did end up getting paid. there didn't end up being any lawsuits or anything like that. But it could have gone, and a lot of that is because we were able to get everything kind of Humpty Dumpty back together again. But it could have been so much worse. And so, if you have clients who aren't listening to you, don't trust you, aren't, be willing to walk away because it's just a matter of time before something happens, and they're going to forget pretty quickly all the advice you had been giving them.
Yeah. Well, that's a great lesson for people to learn. All right, last question here for you, Jared. I read online you're an avid piano player. What is the most complicated song that you can play on the piano?
Um, so I would say I do love playing the piano. It's a hobby of mine. Look, IT is pretty stressful, right? So at the end of a long day, it's great to have a hobby. I hope the other business owners listening, I hope all you do isn't chasing customers trying to convince them to put cybersecurity measures in place so they don't threaten you in the event that something bad happens. But no, I do love playing the piano. I play for my church, so I play a lot of kind of congregational hymns. Um, those are maybe just kind of intermediate complexity. Um, but yeah, there's no one song, some really fancy classical piece that I can name. But yeah, piano for me is my kind of escape. It's a nice hobby to have.
All right, we'll have you back in a year from now. We'll see if you can play that song Rush E. And if you
Hey,
don't
we
know
can
what that,
we can schedule that.
it will schedule it. And if you don't know what Rush E is, if you're listening, you don't know what Rush E is, go Google Rush E piano and then realize that Jared's going to learn how to play this in a year.
All
Uh,
right.
Jared, thanks so much for your time. Where can people find you online if they have questions or want to learn more from you?
LinkedIn is probably easiest, so just search for Jared Knisley on LinkedIn. You'll see me. Our company's XDuce, so xduce.com, xduce.com. You're welcome to check us out online.
Awesome. Jared, thanks so much. That's our time. For more great content, check out channelpronetwork.com.
Don't miss out on the next IT nightmares. Like and subscribe before it's too late.